Brad seemed to recover from the security check as they walked down the hallway, but as soon as they reached the elevator, Hope became aware of a sudden change in Brad's body language. She stopped and turned to him. "Are you okay?" He suddenly went white and his bottom lip quivered. His mouth opened slightly. He made an attempt to speak, but no words came out. Looking at her watch and ignoring the fact they were pressed for time, Hope glanced over at the young girl that was accompanying them. "Sarah, excuse us for a moment." She placed her hand on Brad's back and led him to a bench in the corridor and sat down beside him. "What is it, Brad? Talk to me," she encouraged. The boy tried again. His mouth opened, but again no words came out. Hope allowed him a few seconds to relax, hoping she wouldn't have to coax him and he would be able to proceed without any prompting. He cupped his hands together and twisted his fingers. She noticed his fingernails were raw from biting down to the quick. What if I hurt them? What if the judge lets me go home with Nana and Papa and I hurt them?" Now the words came tumbling out as he turned to face her, his eyes targeted on hers, and then just as fast, a split second later, he turned away as if ashamed. She placed her hand on the top of his thick blonde head as she edged even closer to him. This time, she took a few seconds to gather her thoughts before she spoke, because for the first time, she realized she had her own doubts that needed to be dealt with. "Brad, do you think you could do that? Do you honestly feel you are capable of doing something like that? Do you ever think about causing your grandparents harm? Has it at all ever crossed your mind before today? It's okay. You can tell me." Hope now moved her hand and placed it under his chin and lifted his face. She waited until his eyes met hers. She wanted to be able to look directly into his eyes when he answered her question. She needed to have absolutely no doubt in her mind she wasn't making a mistake. Hope needed to be positive she was doing the right thing by requesting the judge to allow the boy to go home with his grandparents. There was no wiggle room here. If she was wrong and Brad was not ready to be released from the hospital's supervision, it could result in grave consequences. His eyes dropped again and his hands fell into his lap before he answered her. "My Aunt Maggie thinks so," he told her, referring to the wife of his mother's only brother. "That's why I can't go live with Uncle Eddie," he confessed as he fought to hold back tears of frustration. Hope had to figure out a diplomatic way to make him understand. They had been through this before, and she thought he understood, but apparently the fact that Brad didn't have the option to go live with his favorite uncle still bothered him. "Brad, this is a very difficult situation for your Uncle Eddie. He has one young child at home, and your Aunt Maggie is going to have a new baby. Right now, she's having a lot of medical issues and is having a very difficult pregnancy. On top of that, your Uncle Eddie's job takes him away from home a lot. I spoke to your Uncle Eddie, and I know this wasn't easy for him, and he had to make a very tough decision. Right now, your grandparents are in a much better place to accommodate you. Your Uncle Eddie loves you very much, and please, please trust me when I tell you this. He is very conflicted. He would love nothing more than for you to come home to his house. It's just that he has a lot on his plate right now." She kept her eyes locked on his, trying to force him from looking away, but she wasn't quite sure she was being successful in her attempt to convince the boy. He broke eye contact and nodded his head. His thick, wavy hair fell just above his shoulders, swaying ever so slightly. "Do you understand, Brad?" she asked him. "Yes," he replied, appearing to have more confidence in his answer, and then, as if there were nothing left to be said, he immediately stood up. She heard him say yes, but she wasn't quite sure if she was convinced he meant it.